And good to have you back once again on Forbes Sports Money. C.J. Wilson is best known as an all-star pitcher for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which is certainly impressive by itself. But what really caught our eye at Sports Money was his serious appetite for racing cars and making money. Wilson comes from an entrepreneurial family, and he's been trading stock since he was a kid. His newest venture is C.J. Wilson Racing, which he formed in 2010. And while some athletes take it easy during the offseason, Wilson is on the track, leading the chase for even bigger rewards. Michael Ozanian sat down with Wilson at the Forbes offices for our newest Sports Money profile.
Owning a race car team, is this the folly of an all-star pitcher, or is this a sound business venture?
I think that remains to be seen. It's on a long-term level, the only way to get it going is to have really good partnerships. And on the side, what it actually has done is it allowed me to get into the car dealership industry, which is actually a much better play, you know, dollars and cents wise. Now the dealership, you know, is fairly lucrative and easily covers the team, and so I'm trying to get more dealerships to grow the team.
Have you always been a fan of car racing?
It's all my dad's fault. I used to go to USAC midget races, which are dirt track stuff. My dad was on a pit crew for a team, and I used to go. I was probably 5, 6 years old, you know, and then that's where I really got into racing. I wanted to race too, but it was just the danger factor, the financial factor, like we just couldn't cover it as a family. So I decided to play baseball instead, and that's kind of how I got to this point.
How did you go about making the right connections?
It took a couple years. I'd say probably 4 or 5 years before I really got to know the people that I needed to get to know. And I did that by racing myself. So I was racing, and I would go race for these other teams and rent a seat from them and try this series and do this and do that. And then you eventually get yourself in that kind of circle, you know, and during the off season, that's what I did every year from 2006 pretty much until, I mean, still doing it now.
You won a race for your class last year. Mm-hmm. Was that sort of a point where, you know what, you felt you had made your mark?
You know, it's like baseball. There's these little stepping stones. You might get your first win in pro ball, but then that's only an A ball. So then you want to win in double A, make the all-star team, kind of work your way up. And then same thing with baseball now, where there's no goal that I've achieved that I don't want to do again, or that I can't see a bigger goal. Like, I want to win the World Series. I've won the American League a couple times. I've finished kind of well in the Cy Young, but haven't won it. You know, I'd like to win that. I'd like to be an all-star every year. You know, you have to have these goals of kind of perpetual performance.
Was there much resistance from the Texas Rangers, and now of course you're pitching for the Angels, and you know you can't race in a car, or any concerns over the amount of time you're spending in this business?
Well, I don't really do racing as much as I did, and then part of that is because I'm honoring the contract and the liability that I have if I get hurt or something. The Angels are much more, I would say, invested in me than the Rangers ever were. The Rangers, at the time that I started racing, I was just a regular relief pitcher, and I felt like I was underpaid. So if they were going to release me for doing it, I'd be like, cool, I'll just sign with the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Angels or whatever, and then I'll get a bigger payday. So fine, dare you to release me. I've been in some crashes before, but I never felt unsafe. You know, I won't drive a car that I don't feel safe because I don't want to get hurt. Not so much because I'm worried about baseball, but,
right.
You know, that being said, I'll ride motorcycles and stuff like that as well. I'll take all the safety precautions that are possible, and then it's still kind of a coin flip, obviously.
CJ, how would you describe how the business responsibilities are divvied up between you and your two partners?
It's 100% mine, and the operations comes down to certain people having jobs and responsibilities, but I get to make the call, I make the deposits. I also meet with the sponsors and the partners and stuff and the manufacturers and try to create a better dynamic there, because realistically speaking, we're just a regular race car team unless I'm involved, you know, and a regular race car team saying, oh, we can do this, like all these companies have heard it before. You know, they don't really want to deal with the same kind of team. So we're a different team, and because I have a sports and entertainment background, then we're able to do these different little projects with videos and, you know, promotions. But for me, it's always been this 10-year, 15-year, 20-year plan, and as such, I'm willing to take a hit on, you know, getting the new suit or the gold chain or whatever, because to me, I want to have something to live on when I'm 40 or 50 or 60 years old. You know, that's the ideal scenario. And there's nothing guaranteed. I got a good contract last off season, but that was the first guaranteed money I got. Before that, it was like I would get a one-year deal, one-year deal, one-year deal. So I was always kind of living knowing that if I bought something, it had to be something that I knew I could sell. Because if it ever got to the point where I was past my means, I had to get rid of it. And that's what I did, you know, with everything. I always thought something through for a couple months before I actually did it.
Is there anything you've learned during your baseball career that's helped you with your auto racing business?
I would say sports psychology is the biggest thing. Learning how to mentally perform a task so that you don't physically have to do it. Because obviously with racing, every time you move the car, it costs money. Every time you literally transport it somewhere, or turn it on, or drive it around the track, it costs money. So you have to find a way, just the same thing with your arm, where I can't just go pitch every day. My arm will literally fall off my body. It'll shred itself to pieces. It's an unnatural motion. So baseball's an unnatural motion, pitching-wise. Racing is expensive. So both of those you have to come up with like simulations. You have to come up with visualization, goal setting, being efficient with your thoughts, all these things you learn how to do with baseball, you can do as a driver or as a team owner, and you can try to like think about and strategize all these different things. Because really there's no way you can drive as much as you want to. There's no way I can pitch as much as I need to. But you have to find a way to simulate it and make it real and do that. And that's something that I learned at a very young age with baseball.
All right, Michael, let me ask you about this. I look at C.J. Wilson in the racing from two different aspects. One, he could just be an athlete throwing money into something and losing it. Or two, does he have the passion to sustain it and actually make money?
I think he has the passion. When I sat down and talked to him, this is a very intense guy who spends a lot of time studying the numbers and the finances. And what I also liked about this, we've seen so many athletes get burned over the years, either going to people that really threw their money away on bogus investments, or they had their investments just in one area. And if you look at what CJ's doing, there's some asset diversification going on here, and I think that that's really a smart way to go.
Do you think smart move, too, staying in a lower tier of racing, not, let's say, immediately investing in a huge NASCAR team?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to learn the business first, but you know what? I wouldn't put it past CJ to eventually end up there.
Sounds like he's interested. By the way, his Twitter handle, at Straight Edge Racer. So maybe that has something to do with the passion for it. That's going to do it for this edition of Forbes Sports Money. We thank all of our guests, and we thank you as well for joining us. As always, we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.